welcome to the Power Gamer Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Dawson, joined as always by Johnny Paulus. Johnny, I've got 3 words to say to you.
Uh-oh.
3 words. And they're important words, and they're an alliteration.
Okay.
Big buttery biscuits.
What? Why? I'm missing the connection. What is big buttery biscuits?
It's just a satisfying alliteration to say. Like, go for your deepest, sultriest voice.
Big buttery biscuits.
There we go.
Oh, yeah. That sounds good.
Big buttery biscuits.
It reminds me of that song Jeremy made all those years ago, the barbecue sauce. Do you remember that song?
Yes. Yeah, man. Big buttery biscuits, dude.
Big buttery biscuits, indeed.
That is my message that I am spreading today.
It's a heavy one. I hope everybody can hear that.
Because if your biscuits aren't big and buttery,
yeah, then what are we even fucking doing?
well, then they're not big buttery biscuits.
That's right.
So welcome in. It is, the time of this recording is January 22nd. We're coming up upon the end of the first month of 2023. How you feeling? How are you doing?
Feeling good. I rolled credits on another game. I had a decent gig last night. The traffic into the Twitch channel has been good. I've been kind of burning the candle at both ends a little bit. I've been having to force myself to like take a nap when I get home from work occasionally to get caught up so that I can stay up late playing my video games on the stream. But no, otherwise things have been great.
We're 2 days away from the release of Forspoken.
Yep.
Which I think you've called it day one.
Yeah.
Purchase before. I don't know if you're planning on buying it day one with everything we've got to get through here.
I wrapped up Ragnarok and sent it back to GameFly, and I have one game in my queue on GameFly, so I will have Forspoken maybe a day or two after release from GameFly, but I will be playing it, yes.
Nice. Next week will be the 29th when we're recording.
Mm-hmm.
And next week, we're going to go ahead and get out of the way picking our games of the year. But we're going to do it a little bit differently than we did it last year. Last year, we kind of had this consensus list.
Yeah.
And honestly, at no point did the consensus list, other than our number one pick, which we unanimously agreed on, Metroid Dread,
yep,
really felt cohesive. So we're going to do something a little bit different because I like when we do things different, because I think that's why, the people that come and listen to us because we don't do the same thing that everybody else does. So what we're going to do is we're going to each do a top 5 of games released in the year of 2022 that we played.
Yep, that makes sense.
And it's not going to be a long drawn out thing. It's not going to take up the whole episode. But we'll just run through each of our top 5s.
Now, I did like last year, the same episode that we did our top 10. I think we also did pick 5 for pick 3 rather. Pick 3 of the favorite games that you played in the year that maybe necessarily didn't come out that year, but like you rolled credits on and really enjoyed and want to give a shout out to.
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed. We can do that.
Because
I covered a lot of things, of course, that did not.
As did I.
In 2022. But
yep.
Yeah, because I'm sure God of War Ragnarok's great, but I don't want to say, well, I have to have played that, and I have to have played all these other things before we finally cross that bridge. Because I'm also working on the giant stack of Square Enix games that came out in 2022, and it's like, I'm only one person. I can only...
I mean, you rolled credits on what, 60 games or something ridiculous?
Something, I think it was up there in the neighborhood of 60 or so.
It's crazy.
I think more than that, but it was a lot.
That is a lot.
And even still, it's like I still don't feel like I have a cohesive look to say the best game of 2022 is. And who honestly gives a fuck? Because what is it? The same 3-4 answers from everyone? You're going to call it Elden Ring or God of War Ragnarok? Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
So we'll look at that some more next week, but we're going to go ahead and get that one off the plate.
Okay, great.
I think everyone's aware of how good Elden Ring was and how good God of War was and how good Horizon was, whatever. Yep. So, yeah, I think it'd be a really boring episode if we're like, here's the games that we've been talking about every week all over again.
Yep.
Just so you can hear the one that we want to pick. It's like, oh, fuck off with that. That shit's stupid. So we will cross the bridge. We will say a goatee. And we will move on and forward into what people really come here for, which is to hear about the games that we've been playing this week. Johnny, I'll get started because I probably have less to say than you do this week. Star Citizen is still fantastic. I'm really glad I got into this game. I scratched the mining off the list this week, learning that it's kind of a asshole clinching experience doing mining, because the main element you kind of go for in Star Citizen is this shit called quantanium, and it's what powers quantum drives. But the thing of it is the second you put it into your ship, a timer starts and it explodes when the timer runs out and kills you. So you have to collect this stuff, which is hard to find, haul ass back to a space station and get it off your ship before it kills you. And if you do, you make a lot of money. So I've been playing with that. That's really fun. Worked a little bit more on High on Life. Not too much more to say about that game other than it's really fun. Now for the biggins, Project Triangle Strategy. Really sunk my teeth into. Going to sink my teeth into that more after we get done recording tonight.
Yeah, me too.
It's just a wonderful game. It's just wonderful. So I'm about 5 chapters in. I looked forward. There's about 21 chapters in the game. So really enjoying this one. It's done very well. The voice acting is incredible, which is something fun to say when you're playing a Japanese RPG that has really good voice acting.
Yeah, that's great.
They didn't skimp on the voice acting at all. So, but it's cool. It's got, basically cutscenes as well as your actual story progression. Everything takes place on a giant world map, very a la all the old school JRPGs. And as you play, there's green checks and red checks. Red is your main story. Green is like side things. You always want to click on the green ones because it's just like a quick 5-minute cutscene that adds depth to what's going on. It's super cool. It's done really, really well. So enjoying Triangle Strategy. High on Life, of course, is just a calamitous shit show. So I'm enjoying that. I think I'm about halfway through on that game. Now the main one to talk about, and that's Demon's Souls. So I finally beat Demon's Souls.
Okay.
Here's a couple takeaways for Demon's Souls. Number 1, it's incredibly easy. It's total noob mode for From Software games. There was no boss in this game that challenged me even like within an inch of the challenge of the bosses I faced in Elden Ring. They were all very, very simple, very easy. It was basically a walk in the park playing Demon's Souls.
That's good to know.
Do you die a lot? Yeah, sure. I mean, you're going to fuck up. It is still a From Software game. But once you understand the mechanics of Demon's Souls, dying doesn't really matter in the game. Basically, the way Demon's Souls works is you have your form where you're complete in your body, and you have full health. And then when you die, you lose your body and you take on what's called soul form. Well, you basically want to play the entire game in soul form, as there's no penalty for being dead, other than your health bar is a little smaller. There's an item in the game that you can get right from the start called the Cling Ring that dramatically increases your health. in soul form. And so long as you have that, just roll around in soul form and beat the whole fucking game. Couldn't be easier. You can die as much as you want. There's no penalty.
You can still level up and do all that stuff.
Yeah, you don't lose your levels or anything. So once I kind of figured out, the From Software quirks that it doesn't explain to you ever because it's From Software, I was like, man, this is really like the tutorial for From Software games. It's super simple. But beyond being simple, it's incredibly well done. The story's good. The story's good. The level design is masterful. It's beautiful. Blue Point's remake of this game is really something else. I can't recommend Demon Souls enough. I would say, if you were frustrated by Elden Ring but kind of liked some elements of it but just wish it wasn't as punishing, Demon Souls is probably the way to go.
Where do you think it lands on the number scale if you had to?
I gave it an 8.5.
That's good.
8.5. And it's hard to put it on the same playing field as Elden Ring, considering what makes that game so great is just the vast scale of the open world that it takes place in.
Yeah.
In terms of graphics and just feel, I mean, Demon Souls is better in those regards.
Awesome.
It's a great feeling game. It looks great, runs great. Took 20 hours to beat. It's not...
Oh, that's not too bad at all.
It's not painful.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Instead of the rune chicken. You remember the rune chicken?
Yes, I remember the rune chicken.
There's a soul reaper that you can just spawn in, shoot 3 arrows at, then jump off a cliff and respawn and do it again and again and again. So like all the quirks are still there. Okay. From other From Software games. It's just this one's really simple. The dodge feels like it always works when it should. There's no shenaniganry with your dodge. You can build your character basically however you want and get through this game. I did a strength build because that's what I like to do. Unga bunga. And it wasn't bad. Had a great time with it. It was fun. So really 2 thumbs up for Demon Souls. Strongly recommend it.
Cool.
Great PS5 game. So that wraps up what I've been playing this week. Johnny, how about you?
Well, last week I promised you that I was going to roll credits on Midnight Suns, and I'm happy to report that I rolled credits on Midnight Suns about 3-4 hours ago. I think it stuck the landing. The last boss fight was a lot of fun, and some of the later missions in the game started adding these. So in a lot of the missions, there are enemies that you can kill. As soon as they show up on the battlefield, it'll show that they have a card on them. So when you kill them, you're going to get this extra card added. The later missions started really experimenting quite a bit with that, and having a lot more mechanics that they hadn't had before. And then that just got turned to overdrive in the final mission. The final mission was nuts. There was a lot of like, okay, everybody's down. It's just Hunter, and there's 12 enemies. How the hell are you going to figure this out? And I think where I land on this thing, because I mean, when this game was announced, I said I am the target audience for this game. Right? I'm a massive Marvel Comics fan. And I'm a massive XCOM turn-based tactical strategy game fan. Like, I am, as the game was made for me, so of course I was going to love it. Is every Marvel fan looking for a video game to play going to love this game? No. Is everyone looking for a strategy game going to love this game? No. Is everyone who's a Marvel fan and a strategy fan going to love this game? Probably. I think you got a good chance. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I know I bitched quite a lot about the friend system, and it did get a little long in the tooth with the conversations of how buddy we are and how great of a friend you are, and it's just like after you do it 20 times, you're over it and you're kind of skipping past it. But once you get past that, like the story was good, the characters were really well realized, the music was great. I think the graphics in combat were great. The character models from afar in movement look fucking awesome. As soon as you put them in a room and it's a full face model on the screen, it's a little lackluster. But I do still recommend this game. If especially if you like strategy games, if you like turn-based strategy / card games, I had a lot of fun with it. And they've already announced the next DLC. I bought this game with the season pass, so I plan on playing all the stuff that they're going to give me and all the characters that they're going to add. And also, I do see myself going back and playing this game because I think it would be a lot less daunting now that I have a better idea of how the game works, how it functions. And I know the story beats, right? I know the stuff that I can skip. I know the stuff that doesn't matter. So I could blast through the game much, much faster. And I think I'd actually really enjoy playing this game on hard. I played it on normal. I'm really kind of tempted to do... I might do it once all the DLC's out, do a new game plus, and just start the whole thing over. But I can't shake it. The combat's a hell of a lot of fun in the game. So as much as I faulted him on the other stuff, I did come away really enjoying the game a lot. I think I land probably mid-8s. I'd say probably 8.2, 8.3, something like that. So it ended up there. Just if they had tweaked a couple things, this game could have been a 9 for me, but it fell short in a handful of spots.
That's an objective score from Johnny Paulus.
Yeah.
I like that.
Good. Then
good. No, I'm pleased.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
That's an objective score from Johnny Paulus. So I would stick a feather in that one for sure. 8.2 on Marvel Midnight Suns, which honestly I don't think I would differ too far from it. Other than, of course, I'm not the target audience for it.
Right.
I do like Marvel.
Yeah.
I do like strategy games. But I don't know.
I honestly, Mike, I think if you could get past because I know you really didn't like the character models, and I know you didn't like the dialogue, but I think if you could get past that, it's a pretty awesome game. And they even set up, there's even a post-credit, it's a Marvel thing, so there's a cool post-credit of the next big bad, and I don't know if he's going to be in the DLC or in the sequel or what, but regardless, I'm excited. After that, I picked up a couple games on sale on the Humble store. I got a notification that they were having a big sale on the Humble store. So I went and looked to see what was there, and they had Triangle Strategy for, I think, $22.
My
$24,
goodness.
something like that.
That's
done.
Is that digital Switch?
Steam.
Oh, okay, Steam. I didn't know it was out on Steam. But
yeah, Steam.
That's not surprising for me.
So I got that on Steam, and then the other game that I picked up in that same sale, after I rolled credits on Final Fantasy VII Remake, I started browsing around the Steam store, and I saw all these pixel remasters for the Final Fantasy games. If you haven't seen these, they look awesome. They're basically taking the old original Final Fantasies, and they've done like a pixel remaster sort of thing. And I was looking at those, and because my experience with Final Fantasy is 7, 8, 9, 10. I played a little bit of 13. I played a little bit of 15. That's it. I didn't really play any of the earlier ones, so I've never played Final Fantasy 3. I've never played Final Fantasy 6, and I know those are all like really highly rated games. So I was like, well, okay. If I want to scratch the Final Fantasy itch, what's the next Final Fantasy game quality-wise that I should play? So I Googled, Final Fantasy games ranked, right? And the one that kept ending up near the top of the list, which is one that completely skipped my radar, was Final Fantasy XII, The Zodiac Age. Never played it, don't know anything about it. All I know is that every one of these lists put it above Final Fantasy VII, put it above a lot of these classic, like games that I consider god tier. Final Fantasy XII was like nearing the top of a few of these lists. So I saw it on the same sale for $23, $24. So fuck it, fired it up. I only played it for about an hour, but I can say the graphics are a little bit dated, but it has kind of a painterly sort of presentation, which I really like. So that the character models, the way that the character models are done, they almost look like they're painted. I'm pretty excited to jump into that. So Triangle Strategy, I fired up, said, ooh, looks pretty, and then that was it. I didn't really get a chance to dive into it. But now that I've finished Midnight Suns, I'll get there. And the next game I need to roll credits on, I want to do it this week, is Ghostwire Tokyo. I finally hopped back into that game, got myself unstuck from where I was, went on YouTube and got myself out of it. And I played that for a good maybe 2-3 hours today. So I'm looking forward to getting to the meat of what Mike enjoyed about this game, because I know you really, really liked Ghostwire a lot. And I haven't gotten there yet. So I keep plugging, keep waiting for that spark to light. But for me, it just kind of feels a little samey every time I fire it up, personally.
You might be spreading it out a little far, sir.
Yeah,
I would just grab that pizza and eat it till it's gone. You know, don't eat a slice and then put 20 meals in between it before you come back for your next slice. You just kind of gotta take your time with it. But
yeah, no, I know that's one I got to put to bed. So I want to put it to bed hopefully this week.
Well, you can just charge through the main story points and probably get the full effect if you're like, I just need to get this off my plate and bury it.
Well, and I've already done a shit ton of side quests, so I mean I've been doing good on it.
And yeah, Final Fantasy 12 is that one's up there. It was, what was weird with 12 was it was ahead of its time when it came out, but it turned out being what people want, so people look back on it very fondly, and it also really like whipped the shit out of the console that it came out on, in a good way. It really maximized the abilities of the old PlayStation. So not the old the PS2. So yeah, between 12, I'd say 12, 10, and 6 outside of 7 are the best ones.
Right.
6 is the best.
I liked 10 a lot. I've heard a million people tell me 6 is the best. I have not played 6 yet. Maybe I'll do the Pixel remaster on 6 and rock that out.
That would be a good way to go for it, because
yeah,
you always have to be kind of weird too when you're an American playing through Final Fantasy games, because 2 is 4.
Yep.
3 is 6.
Yep.
We didn't get actual 2.
Right.
Actual 3 or actual 5 at time of release. We got the original on NES, then we got 4, and then we got 6, and then we got 7, and everyone's like, wait, what the fuck happened to all these other ones?
Right. Yeah, they finally just said, you know what? We've been lying to you this whole time. This is the 7th one. Deal with it.
Yeah, and then, there we are. So I played 3 on DS like forever ago. I've still not ever played actual 2. Played 1, 3, 4, 6.
Yeah.
7, bits of 9. I've kind of got to go back through and piece in some holes there. I own all of them, shockingly. But.
Yeah, well, and like I remember with the Final Fantasy 13 trilogy, I got really far in the first one, and then I just completely lost all interest. Like, I think I got 40, 50, 60 hours into that game, and then it got to a new open world map, and it was just a grind fest, and I was like, I don't care anymore, I'm done. And, like, I know I have to jump back into that game, but at this point, I'd probably be completely lost with the combat system and everything, so I don't know if it's even worth it.
Indeed. Let's see, so Ghostwire, Final Fantasy, and then, yeah, you picked up Triangle Strategy.
Yep, I just fired it up, said, "Ooh, it looks pretty," and I'm
put it away.
To play it, but I haven't really played it yet. No.
All right, fair. Well, then that wraps up what we've been playing this week. On the topic of Marvel, and a game that Johnny has championed in some ways,
I have,
and I've always talked mad shit on,
even though you never played it.
Don't need to. Let's talk about Crystal Dynamics, the Avengers. It's finally happening, the thing that we thought would happen ever since we first laid eyes upon this horrendous troll of a beast that's possibly the biggest blown opportunity of all time. Per Video Games Chronicle, Crystal Dynamics has announced it will end support for Marvel's Avengers later this year. In a blog post published on Friday, the developer said it would publish its final update on March 21st of this year and end all official support on September 30th. After September 30th, the single and multiplayer game will still continue to be available to play. They state, to our amazing community, after 2.5 years, introducing 12 of Earth's mightiest heroes. Following update 2.8 on March 31st, we will no longer add new content or features to Marvel's Avengers. All official support for the game will end on September 30th. Even after official support ceases on September 30th, both single and multiplayer gameplay will continue to be available. Update 2.7, which added the Winter Soldier hero and cloning lab Omega level threat, whatever that means, is the last new content to be added to the game. No new cosmetics are coming to the marketplace, and all final balance updates will occur in Update 2.8 in March. Along with the end of development, we'll also be turning off the cosmetics marketplace. When 2.8 launches on March 31st, credits will no longer be purchasable, and all remaining credit balances will be converted into in-game resources to aid ongoing adventures. So, Johnny.
Yeah.
This wonderful game, Marvel's Avengers, that had one of the, I think, most embarrassingly low succinct player counts of all time, has shockingly, in my opinion, held on this long. But no mas. It's finally over. What are your thoughts on what we'll call the beginning of the death of the Avengers?
Well, I have to give Crystal Dynamics a thumbs up here with the way that they handled it. They've continued to add content free of charge. They've continued to add heroes free of charge. Anytime I've felt the itch to go back and play it, there's always something else to do. As far as the end game, unfortunately, it became a grind. And I think the main reason why people stopped playing this game is because you fight AIM agents, and almost exclusively AIM agents, the entirety of the entire game. Right? You're never fighting crime. You're never fighting zombies or mutants or whatever. It's always AIM agents and AIM robots. Forever and ever, amen. And that got old. But, I mean, again, I know we've talked about it countless times. I really enjoyed the campaign in this game. I thought it was a nice length. It wasn't too long. It didn't overstay its welcome. Where I think they failed is trying to the games as a service thing. We've seen so many games die for this reason. And the reason why I got to give Crystal Dynamics credit here is because I think of games that flopped this hard. I think of Battleborn, Gearbox's game that was meant to be a MOBA / third-person shooter game. And they pulled the plug on that thing, like, it must have been 6 months or a year later. And it just was like, it's done. Servers are off. It's over. I also think of... God, what was the one from Epic? Lawbreakers. That was like their hero shooter, their attempt at an Overwatch game. Same thing with that. I bought the game. I had fun with it. I really enjoyed it. The player count started dwindling, and then they literally just went, "Yep, the game's done." And I can't play the game anymore. The thing I like about this is that if at any point in time I feel like firing this game up, because again, I do enjoy playing this game. The game is fun. I enjoy the game. I like that they're not pulling the servers and that the single player content is still there. And if I feel like playing the campaign again, I can. And I think one of the biggest crimes with these games as a service is that when they pull the plug, they pull the fucking plug. You can't even play the game anymore. And I'm really glad that, not only did they continue to try to support this game and give people new content, they never held out their hand and said, give us more money. They never said, hey, here's the new Wakanda pack. it's $20. They could have, but they didn't. It was just included in your original purchase of a game that was, on sale for $30 6 months after release. So the fact that they continued to support it, continued to give new content, and now they're going, hey, we're done making content for the game. Single player will still be accessible. Multiplayer will still be accessible, and we're going to turn the cosmetic shop off. And thank you guys for your service and for your loyalty and enjoying the game. So, in the long history of games having their plug pulled, I think this is one of the better examples. I think they are doing it pretty graciously, and I mean it would be very easy for them to say, at September the servers are off, and you're done. You can't play multiplayer, you can't play co-op, you're done. And they're not doing that. So I have to give them, I think, a little bit of credit. It is still, like you said, one of the biggest missed opportunities ever. I think had they taken 50% of the effort that they put into the end game, Destiny-esque raids and continuing that, raising your power level so you can do the next difficulty where you're still just fighting the same fucking enemies. They just hit harder and have bigger health pools. It's not a satisfying loop if there's not enough content to go through, right? Destiny succeeds because the raids have new shit to do and new mechanics, and it's not, here's another hallway with more of the same bad guys. What are your thoughts?
This is the biggest fucking fuck up of all time. Like, point blank. There is nothing more popular in this world than fucking the Marvel Avengers. Yeah. It's that and Star Wars. Those are the two most popular things. So, if the game was decent, if the game was even relatively fun, we wouldn't be reporting this. So this tells me that the game's fucking horrible and that it's not fun. I have no idea why Crystal Dynamics, of all developers on this planet, was ever handed the keys to something that literally has Marvel's logo and the Avengers logo on it.
Yep.
From a Japanese publisher that has no history at the time this came out of any success in this field. I mean, obviously Square houses the largest MMO in the world right now with Final Fantasy 14. But it took them releasing that game and completely pulling it offline and relaunching it for it to be what it is. But that has nothing to do with Crystal Dynamics. So this whole Marvel's Avengers thing, from the moment it was released, it looked doomed to fail because it looked bad, and it was bad. I mean, regardless of what, any huge fan of Marvel would think, this game is bad. All the reviews say it's bad. The player base, being as tiny as it is, says it's bad. The sales numbers say it's a bad game. So it's bad. And they've been trying to do everything in their power to salvage the biggest fuck up in video game history, which is blowing the Marvel Avengers IP, which they've successfully blown the Marvel Avengers IP. It didn't matter all the free stuff that they released after the fact. There was nothing saving this game. It's a giant pile of dog shit, no matter how anyone would want to paint the picture otherwise. So it's just mind-boggling to me, this whole thing. This game fucked Square so hard that they had a fire sale with their developers to reclaim the money so their investors wouldn't destroy them. In Japan, business is done a little bit differently than over here. And you have to turn a profit. It's not, oh, you didn't turn enough of one, or, oh, you had a bad year. That's not how it works over there. You succeed or fucking figure it out. And so, I mean, Square trimmed up. They let a bunch of big studios walk for pennies on the dollar for $300 million. They let all of their American assets go and said, we learned our lesson and we're not going to do it again. So it's really a bummer, honestly, because with how big the Avengers is, right? And how awesome of an IP that is, and how many cool things you could do with it in a video game, it's absolutely befuddling that there isn't really a good video game that takes advantage of it. I mean, the closest thing I would say is probably Midnight Suns, which just came out, but unfortunately is like for a hyper target audience.
Ultimate Alliance 3 is pretty good.
Yeah, Ultimate Alliance, that whole series has always been okay. I mean, it's not a barn burner in terms of what it sells based on what that IP is. And it existed really before the height of the popularity. And it's also locked on Switch, which doesn't help it.
That's the biggest bummer with that game, yeah.
Didn't used to be. It used to be on all systems, but yeah, it's been locked on Switch.
I mean, still is shit. You can go on the PlayStation Store right now and buy the first two, which are ancient, and they still are fun. I mean, to your point, I think this game suffered a little bit of the internet negative pre-hype. Like this game got Mass Effect Andromeda a little bit. Now, you're saying it's a big piece of shit and the game isn't good, and I'm telling you that the game's a lot of fucking fun, and the campaign is awesome, and I really still do recommend this game. I had a fucking hell of a time playing this game. Had I had people to play it with me, I may have continued to play it. But I realized that this was a massive flop, and I'm not trying to take that away from your statement. But
are you saying,
I'm not going to say that the game is bad. The game's great. I really enjoyed it a lot.
Are you saying that if we co-opt, I get Iron Man, okay, number one.
Okay.
That's the only
Iron Man's fun as shit in that game.
That's the only character in this that's even slightly attractive to me.
Okay.
Is Iron Man. Let's pick a night. Because we all have it now. It's on Game Pass. You know, it's not like I don't have it. I can load it up on PC. And how long is the main campaign?
15 hours maybe.
15? Short?
15 or 20, something like that. It's not too bad.
Yeah, it's pretty short. I will let you change my mind. As I often have.
We've had this discussion several times, and I've shouted from the rooftops, God damn it, the game's fun. The game is fun. The campaign's great. Right. It's fun to switch around the characters. It's fun to level them up, and there's actually a lot of the way that you gear yourself, right? There's different, similar to Diablo, right? I can max out this spell, or I can max out that thing, and then I can get my armor that accentuates that and makes those things hit harder. So when you find, the handful of combos that you prefer, you figure out what kind of damage is that, what kind of gear do I need to accentuate that, and then, like, holy shit, I'm doing 4K every time I swing my fucking hammer as Thor. It's a lot of fun. I mean, again, the campaign's great. I really enjoyed it, and I think this game got negative pre-hyped. I think they Mass Effect Andromeda this game. It was dead on arrival for reasons unknown.
Every time I've sat down and tried to watch it, I'm like, this is hellaciously boring. However, yeah, main story, 12 hours.
Yeah, it's we've had this conversation, and you agreed forever ago that you were going to fire it up and play it, and you never did.
Well, we will change that.
Okay.
And let's see. We can change that in an entertaining fashion for our listeners, because they can see if this makes me want to hang myself or if I actually have a good time with it. And you can have fun giving a last hurrah to this game before it's completely fucking toast.
Sure.
Maybe re-roll a new character or whatever. So let's see. You stream most weeknights, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yep, pretty much.
Let's do Marvel Monday. What say you?
Okay. Sounds good to me.
Marvel Monday, we hop on at, say, 10 or 11 o'clock.
10 or 11 p.m., yep.
And we just roll. And if it gets intolerable for me, where I'm like, this is so bad I can't take it anymore, then we're done.
Okay.
But if I'm actually legitimately having a good time, then I go, hey, let's keep trucking. Because
we got to get somebody else to join us, because I think you can have up to 3 or 4. I think it's 4.
Who else likes the game?
We got to get somebody else to like the game.
Interesting.
It's a fucking beat 'em up. It's an online co-op beat 'em up. What's there not to like? Pick up a controller and beat the shit out of people with your friends. No, I'm telling you, in the world of co-op beat 'em ups, it's really not bad. It's not the big pile of shit that everyone makes you think it is. It's not. The game's fun.
All right. I'm going to give Johnny a chance to change my mind, which normally when I do this, I want to say, I will give credit where it's due. Johnny has a pretty good track record. When I hate something and he's like, no, really, Mike, you should try this.
You've swayed me several times too.
He's got a pretty good track record. So one last shot here to celebrate its death.
Sure. Let's do it.
Next up, Halo back all over Twitter this week, all over the news.
For real.
Why, pray you tell? Because Microsoft has laid off nearly 220,000 employees. Now, that's only 4.5% of their workforce.
That's crazy. God, that's crazy.
So here's this whole separate issue before we dive headfirst into that, because we're seeing a lot of these giant cuts in tech companies. Google just had massive layoffs too. All of these companies blew up really fast, hired all of these people, and then there was the swing back. We've seen it across basically all industries throughout the pandemic, where everyone's like, oh, this is the new normal. We're doing more business than we can possibly imagine. Let's hire everyone. This is how it's going to be from now. And no one stops to slow down and think, wait a second. Did we just fall ass backwards into a big opportunity, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that's unsustainable? The obvious answer, of course, is yes, you did.
Yeah.
But now, who pays the price for that? Well, about 220,000 Microsoft employees are part of the casualty list here. Which, some interesting tidbits about Microsoft employees. Johnny, did you know that the median salary of a Microsoft employee is $160,000 per year?
God damn. That's the median?
Did you know that if Microsoft were not pursuing Activision in a $70 billion acquisition that's probably not going to happen, that they could pay the 220,000 people that they laid off for the next 50 years?
Yeah.
So part of who's affected by the layoffs at Microsoft, I fucking hate mega corporations, by the way. Hate them. They're the worst. Among those affected, 343 Industries, who of course is the developer of Halo, they felt the brunt of some of the layoffs. Here's the beat from VGC. On Wednesday, Microsoft confirmed plans to lay off approximately 4.5% of the U.S. technology giant's 220,000 person workforce, around 10,000 people. Was I saying that 220,000 people were being laid off? No. Yes. I meant 10,000. 4.5% of the. Okay. Sorry, that sounded.
I was going to say 250,000
not
people being laid off.
Not 8% of the U.S. population.
I mean, don't get me wrong. 10 is still bad.
No.
But
10,000 people of the 220,000. Sorry.
Okay.
I was definitely saying that wrong. 10,000 people getting fired. Reports from Bloomberg and Lords of Gaming then identified 343 as one of several game studios to be affected, with the latter claiming the Halo developer had suffered a significant number of layoffs, particularly those working on single-player elements. This led to speculation that 343 could be downsizing its commitment to Halo Infinite content, or even outsourcing future development entirely. On Saturday, 343 appeared to address the speculation directly with a statement published on its social media accounts. I hated this Twitter post. Halo and Master Chief are here to say, it wrote. 343 Industries will continue to develop Halo now and in the future, including epic stories, multiplayer, and more of what makes Halo great. They wouldn't know what made Halo great if Bungie's ghost sprung back up in a Microsoft office and rubbed their fucking face in it. Anyway, Halo Infinite has had a troubled production, suffering various delays and changes of leadership in the years leading up to its December 2021 release and ever since. Even prior to this week's layoff news, 343 Industries has seen a number of recent senior departures, including its multiplayer creative director, its director of engineering, and Bonnie Ross, who was the studio head for 15 years. Coinciding with the news of the layoffs, it was also reported that Halo veteran and head of creative Joseph Staten is leaving 343 to rejoin Xbox Game Studios Publishing. Following this week's layoffs, several former 343 staff criticized Microsoft for its part in Halo Infinite's rocky development. One is Patrick Wren, who had worked for 343 for 8 years and was senior multiplayer designer on Halo Infinite before leaving in October 2021 to join Respawn to work on Star Wars Jedi Survivor. He says, the layoffs at 343 shouldn't have happened and Halo Infinite should be in a better state. The reason for both of those things is incompetent leadership up top during Halo Infinite development, causing massive stress on those working hard to make Halo the best it can be. The people I worked with every day were passionate about Halo and wanted to make something great for the fans. They helped push for a better Halo and got laid off for it. Devs still there are working hard on that dream. Look at Forge. Be kind to them during this awful time. I've got a lot to say about all this, Johnny. I don't know if you want to throw in your 2 cents here, though, to get us started.
Well, I mean, I just think back to when Halo Infinite came out, and we talked about it quite a bit on the podcast, and sort of our take was it seemed pretty obvious that the game was not done. The campaign was fun, but there was no co-op. The campaign was fun, but it also felt short. The game ends kind of abruptly. It feels like there should be more there, and they're like, cool, good job, good guy saved the day, credits. You're just like, it didn't, when you rolled credits on Halo 1, when you rolled credits on Halo 2, when you rolled credits on Halo Reach, you felt like you fucking finished Avengers Endgame, right? And Infinite didn't feel like that. And we both enjoyed Infinite. Infinite's a fun game, but it was not at the level that we have come to expect Halo to be. And it really felt, at least to me, and I'm sure you'd probably agree here, that it felt like Microsoft went, fuck you, we need a Halo game this holiday season. Fuck the co-op. Fuck that part of the campaign. Chop it off. Because this was the shortest campaign we've ever had from Halo. Ever. I can't think of another Halo game that's this short. There's a lot of them. I'm sure you can think of one, but most of them are pretty long, meaty titles where a lot happens and there's lots of twists and turns. And the biggest draw for me with Halo has always been the couch co-op, sit down and beat Halo with a buddy. I beat Halo 1 on the couch with a friend. I beat Halo 2 on couch with a friend. I beat Halo 3 with a couch. That's how I enjoy the Halo series. So for them to release the game without it felt like a pretty big miss. I don't blame 343 for that. I blame Microsoft. I'm sure that they wanted that shit to be in the product when it was released. I think Microsoft pushed hard to get it out early and said, scrap this, scrap that, get it out. And then now here we are, almost a year later, we finally have co-op, but we still don't have couch co-op. So the layoffs suck, but this does come down to mega corporations bad. But what's your take? I see you stewing over there.
I don't blame Microsoft for any of 343's fuck-ups. 343 had a deadline to meet. They didn't meet it. The game got pushed back. And eventually, you got to shit or get off the pot in this industry. Creatives are never done working. A video game is not like building a car, where when you start building a car, there's a definitive point where you're done building a car or building a house. You know, you have to have the house built by X date. Great. You know the pieces to build a house, you build the house. Games you never, ever are finished working on. You only get games to shippable states. Because games, you could work on a piece of art and a game for the rest of your life and never release the game. You know, at some point, leadership within a studio has to finish the product and release it. And it's not on Microsoft that 343, who's dropped the ball on every single Halo game they've done. You know, it's like, oh, did we really expect this to go any different? No. They have a history of this. They are not good. You know, they deliver a pretty decent product when you look back years later. But when you're going through it at the time of it being released, yeah, these guys have a history of not being great. Microsoft didn't decide for Halo to become a Master Chief Cortana love story. 343 did. If you played Halo 4 and 5, that's what the fuck it is. That's all Halo 4 is. That's all Halo 5 is. And that's all Infinite was. The story's been watered down to a romance. You know, you play the original Halo games and ask yourself, well, what made them great? None of the original Halo games were a romance story. It was fucking war. Yeah. You know, you weren't trying to humanize Master Chief into a relatable character. He was the name of the person that's the gun that you were when you played those games.
Yep. I mean, he's a Doom guy.
That's all he is, but that's all he was because that's no longer the case. 343 made that decision. When Infinite came out and it has the most one-note biome of all time. It's a forest. Microsoft didn't decide for that entire game to take place in the woods.
Yeah.
How about some fucking snow? How about a desert? How about some other biomes? Nope, it's all going to be in the forest. That was 343.
Yeah.
When 343 started fucking up, Microsoft came in and cracked the whip and got a product out and probably did them a favor by putting their shit out on the line to dry. It's like, okay, now you have to get shit done because your game's out. You can't keep hiding behind release dates and delays.
Okay. I don't hate that take.
So yeah, I just think it's ironic too that a lot of the people, not ironic, it's comical that a lot of the people that are coming out complaining and taking 343 sides are people that left. I just ran through all the people that didn't get laid off. The multiplayer creative director, the director of engineering, the studio head creative. They all left. It's just confirming what we've known about 343 for a long time, and that's that shit's not right over there.
Right.
And Microsoft has a long history of mismanaging its first-party studios. And I think
true that.
This is just an example of that. But ultimately, the buck stops with 343 here. You know, did they finally release co-op? Yeah. In November of 2022.
Yeah. Too little, too late. Yep.
What Halo game shipped without co-op prior to this one?
Halo Infinite.
Just Infinite.
That's it.
You know, this shit's rudimentary. So it just shows you. All that being said, Halo Infinite's a fun game. I had fun playing it. Yeah. I love the grappling hook. Everybody loved the grappling hook.
Yep.
The multiplayer is good. It's solid Halo multiplayer.
Yep, it's Halo. Yep.
But the problem with it is it's the flagship property of Xbox. And it's nothing that 343 has put out has been as good as anything that Bungie did.
Correct.
And it's kind of silly, you know, because they have the template. It's there, and it's less complicated than what they're trying to do. Everyone who's a big fan of Halo says, just do something more like 3. Just do something more like Reach. Just do something more like 2. And then the biggest irony is what ends up being the definitive Halo game on next-gen systems, Master Chief Collection.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I thought the defense tweet from Patrick Wren was kind of comical, because it's like, well, you left to go work with a good studio, Respawn, so why are you talking? Why are you telling us to look at Forge and be kind to 343? Yeah, Forge came out like fucking 2 years after the game came out, Patrick. Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
So everyone who's upset that Microsoft laid off people at 343, layoffs are bad. And that's why I started by saying I hate big mega corporations, you know, and
likewise.
I hate that everyone staffed up all these people and then fucked up so many people's lives by having these layoffs now. But what people being cut at 343 tells me is that instead of fucking over some of the productive people they've hired in other areas, they've decided to fire some of the people that fucked them, is what it tells me. Because I don't think they boated up 343 full of employees. They would have done that trying to get the game out on time. Not now. And for all these people going, well, you know, this is going to affect Halo Infinite's content. It's like, well, where the fuck was the content? You had time. You had all the time in the world. Where was it? You just killed couch co-op. You can do online co-op. You can get out, you know, 2 years after you launch your game. It takes you to figure that shit out. But then you can't. What?
Yeah, no split screen is
so
crazy.
Little makes sense with what 343 puts out when they speak, or when former employees. I just think they're out of touch.
Well, and it's just when you look at the metric of that type of game and who else is doing what. I mean, I got my kids Tiny Tina's Wonderlands for Christmas, and we've had several sessions of them split screen on the TV on the PlayStation, me on my PC. We connect seamlessly. We play the game, no problem. No hiccups, no lag, no disconnects, no nothing. Everything works perfectly. And that game is far more chaotic than what Halo does. I mean, there's a lot of shit going on in that game. And everything works. Everything works. And that's not fucking Halo. Halo should be Call of Duty. It should be, you know what I mean? Like, that's where people rank the echelons of games, and all these subsequent 343 releases, it just gets knocked down a tier. And I hope we don't live to see a day where no one gives a fuck about a Halo game.
Yeah, I think the problem is people care immensely about Halo. And 343 is not it. Like, they haven't been the entire time they've had the keys to the truck. They put out a nice product, but it's not to the caliber it needs to be. You know, imagine if they were releasing these games with some other IP on it. It'd be dust. And I mean, the contradiction even in the Patrick Wren tweet, right? The guy that left and is like, be nice. He says, let me read this again. The layoffs at 343 shouldn't have happened, and Halo Infinite should be in a better state. Does that sentence make sense?
Not particularly, no.
So Halo Infinite should be in a better state. Great, we agree with that. But it's not. So there was layoffs. Okay. He continues. The reason for both of those things, so the reason for the layoffs and the reason for Halo Infinite not being in a better state, the reason for both of those things is incompetent leadership up top during Halo Infinite development. Well, who does that come from?
Well, that's what I was wondering. Does he mean Microsoft up top, or does he mean 343 up top?
It's not Microsoft. It's not. Like, they didn't go, let's everything takes place in a forest, and we're still going to be talking about Master Chief and Cortana being in love. They didn't fucking decide that.
Yeah.
You need to have guns, you need to have co-op, and you need to have multiplayer. If any one of those three things is missing,
you don't have
correct.
A Halo game. Yep.
So, whereas it's kind of an odd thing to talk about, because, yeah, I hate layoffs, I hate all that. But in the same breath, it's like, I don't think people white knighting for 343 makes a lot of fucking sense. Like, all they've done is stumble over their own shoes with one of the biggest IPs on the planet, and they failed to deliver for years. Ask anyone who's like an avid Halo player what their favorite Halo game is, and I'll fucking shoot myself if they say 4, 5, or Infinite. It's not, you know. So, interesting news. Of course, if you're affected by the layoffs, that super sucks. And hopefully there's new opportunities out there. As the video game industry is, of course, booming, looking for talent and people, there are plenty of jobs elsewhere for these folks to go to. But it seems like the writing's on the wall for 343. I mean, with the amount of the leadership that has voluntarily walked out the door and now these layoffs, something's more fucked up there than we think. So I just wanted to touch on that this week, because it's not every week they're in the news, but they're back in the news now. And as per usual, it's not for any good reason. Even though November, when they released the patch, there's nobody like going, yay, you did it. Hooray. It was more just like, well, finally, it's been fucking 2 years.
Yep.
Like no one was happy.
And that's the shame of it. I mean, talking about a developer, dropping the bag, everyone and their fucking mother was playing Halo Infinite online.
Everyone.
For like 3 months. Like everyone on my friends list, everybody was going hard as fuck on Halo. And we just got burned out. There was nothing else to do.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough new shit. There wasn't enough new, we all just like, well, okay, it's fucking oddball on this map. I think I'm good.
Well, what's fucked up is, and this is where I think Microsoft does come into play here, is by releasing this game on Game Pass, right, and using it as a tool to move Game Pass subscriptions, I think they're completely out of touch with everything at this point.
Yep.
You didn't sell your main game. You used it to pimp.
Essentially gave it away.
Used it to pimp Game Pass. So
Yep.
what is Halo at this point? I don't know. Is it just a Game Pass moving tool? Is it just a multiplayer thing that you give away if people subscribe?
Yeah.
It could be so much more than
what
that.
It feels like.
It could be the game. It should be fucking in the Game of the Year conversation every year it comes out.
Correct.
But
it's not anywhere close.
So that wraps up what we've got going on in the news. Can't believe I've agreed once again to play the fucking Avengers.
You'll enjoy it, man. You really will.
I am Iron Man. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to our final segment of the show. It's time for One Up. Johnny, I'll go first because I know you like to be prepared for One Up, and maybe you didn't have as much time to think on.
I've got one. We're good.
One Up as normal. He's got one. Well, that's fantastic. My One Up this week is for Ubisoft. Ubisoft, I don't know what the fuck's going on over there, guys, but it doesn't look good. Doesn't look good at all. And we know in the news a week and a half ago that you canceled a bunch of games and some delays were made. But you guys are just taking L's left and right. And the 1W that we were expecting that was supposed to come out the day before God of War Ragnarok and show them who's boss, built on a game mechanic from a game that came out over a fucking decade ago. Sea of Thieves counterpart, supposed to be the great competitor to Rare's Sea of Thieves. Oh, Ubisoft, what are we going to do with you?
What's going on in the news with Skull and Bones?
It got delayed again.
Oh my God!
It got delayed.
So when? Jesus.
Yeah, the Ubisoft canned 3 games and delayed Skull and Bones again.
Are we ever going to see this game?
I hope not, honestly. You know, when the fact that they haven't pulled the cord on it yet is absolutely insane. So, yeah, last week, Ubisoft delayed the game for the 6th time due to recent launches underperforming, and now have an undetermined release date in the 2023 to 2024 fiscal year. Which I'm assuming at this point that they've sunk so much cash into it that they can't scrap it.
Yeah.
But I know someone who's very excited for Skull and Bones having all of these blows, and his name is Cul-de-sac Jack. If this game ever comes out, I'm going to hand deliver him a copy on release day. Duct tape him to a chair and make him play it. But that's my one-up. Ubisoft, you be letting us down.
Oh, nice one. My one-up is this time of year. I don't know about you guys, dear listeners, but my eyes get really dry. It's something with the heat in the home and the house being dry, and my eyes get itchy and my eyes get dry. And
it's something.
Yeah, like maybe it's something. Earlier on in the week, my eyes were really fucking dry, and I was like, I used to buy these menthol eye drops that I really, really liked. I wonder if they're still out there. So I start looking around on Amazon, and I recognize the bottle immediately. I'm like, oh, there's the brand. So then I start looking through the different ones that they had, and they have one, so they're called Rohto, R-O-H-T-O is the brand. They have one called Digi-Eye, okay? These are eye drops for when your eyes get exhausted staring at a screen, which most of us do all fucking day, every day. And I'm like, that seems kind of gimmicky, but then I start reading through the reviews, and every single review is like, the heavens opened up, and I saw Jesus Christ himself when I used these eye drops. And I was like, okay, I got to try these things. So I ordered them, and these, the Rohto, R-O-H-T-O, Digi-Eye, are the single best eye drops I have ever used. Period. Full stop. If you are like me and staring at a computer screen 8 hours a day at work and 5 hours a day at night, you should go buy some because they're fucking amazing.
Stoners rejoice.
Unsponsored advertisement.
Remember the old Ben Stein ads? Have dry, red eyes.
Yeah, I do.
They like fucking rub sand on a beach ball. It'd be all fucking red.
Oh yeah, and you pour the water on it and all the sand would come off. I do remember that. Dude, Ben Stein was rolling in the dough in advertisements back in the day.
Oh yeah.
I'm the most boring man on the face of the planet Earth, but someone keeps giving me millions of dollars to do television commercials.
I remember he had his show, like, Take Ben Stein's Money.
Ben Stein's Money, yep.
Yeah, no, he's still around. He's still around. He's let's see, he's 78 years old.
Wow, that's old.
It's not that bad.
It's almost 80. It's pretty.
He's younger than
old.
Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson's still kicking, so I think Willie Nelson's 84. Something like that.
Wow.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps this week's episode of the Power Gamer Podcast. We will, of course, be back again next week with another great episode for you to enjoy. Until that time, I'm Mike Dawson.
And I'm Johnny Paulus.
Tune in next time. Take care.
Catch you on the flip
Big
flop.
buttery biscuits.
Big buttery biscuits.
Take care.